What is the only relationship in your life that matters? We're going to talk about that today. This is Tom Kieran with the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness in San Diego, California, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Welcome back, guys. Got a great lesson today. I want to talk about the relationship that matters. And you probably know what the answer is going to be already. Guys, it's with yourself, right? It's with that bigger, that self with the big S, right? That divinity inside, that God consciousness, that awareness that we're connected to. That is the relationship. Once you tend to that, once you align with that, every other relationship in your life will improve and will not have, when you come from alignment, you fix everything else, right? Not saying that anything's broken, but it's when we're not connected, when we're not paying attention to that divinity inside, when we're not aligned with it, when we're not going within, and then our relationships every other relationship on the outside of us suffers. And this is the idea. So there was Dr. Joe Dispenza, who wrote Breaking the Habit of Becoming Yourself. In his book, he writes of a moment when he was on the road. I think it was in 2004 or around that time frame. Could have been 2005, but around that time frame when he was featured in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? That movie that talks about neuroscience, quantum physics, the universe, and so forth. Pretty powerful movie at the time, still powerful. And he says, he got home as he sat on the sofa when he was away from the lights, the people, the traveling, the outside distractions and relationships that he was accustomed to while he was on the road, the attention, all of that. He said he felt a profound sadness. And so this is when it occurred to him that he wasn't connected to that. He wasn't really connected to the joy within, the joy that is his, the joy that doesn't require an outside stimulus, the joy that doesn't require an effect from the outside to cause it. Yeah. This is what he realized. He realized that all these events and people around him, he needed them to figure out who. He felt like he was addicted to them to define who he was, and without it, he didn't know, or he felt this really sadness. He didn't connect to that love, right? That we're all connected to inside. He obviously he had at points because he was teaching it, but his point was that I'm teaching this and I don't feel it. So he took time off to get connected to that joy that doesn't require outside stimulus. All of this is just you. And this is all the relationships and stimulus from the outside, the external world, your external environment, your hobbies, your career, your friends, money, TV, social media, things like houses, cars, and clothes, romance and love interests. All of these hobbies and interests, all of these are defining who you are, right? If something goes wrong in any of these areas, you feel you're emotionally attached to it. You can feel anger, frustration, sadness, whatever the issue is with these external stimulus. They are defining who you are. And Dr. Joe Dispenza called it an emotional addiction to the external world. Right? Because you bounce it around. What happens if all that's taken away? Who are you when none of that's around? When none of that, when you're just with yourself? Because that's where when we make our transition, that's what happens, right? All that external stuff goes away. And we're just back in that love of who we are. So, and so he called it really this perceived happiness. If anyone would ask him, he would say he was happy. Yeah, he's living the dream, traveling. He's making lots of money. He's doing workshops. He's helping people, but he understood that it was a perceived happiness. It was a reaction to the stimulus or the stimuli in the external world. That's what you are conditioned or conditional, your emotions or your happiness was conditioned on this outside stimulus. And so what he identified by this in one of his chapters is the gap. He called it the gap, and he says he had a visual like this. On top is how you appear to the outside world. The appearances that to your co-workers, to your family, to your friends, whatever, that you're holding yourself to be. This is the facade, this is the veneer. And then there's a gap between who you really are inside, how you feel, whether it's unworthiness, guilt, and so forth. Now, when we say who you really are, we're not talking about the joy beyond, there's a layer beyond that, the divine you, that real joy. But that's what you got to get to. This is who you really are when you're not around this stimulus. And whatever feelings, and a lot of it's based in the past, right? Most of it's based in the past. We memorize emotions from past experiences. This is why it's so hard to wean off those emotions. The body has memorized them. It has become habit. So even if you have another experience, you experience the same emotions from that past experience, even if it's a new experience. It's hard to wean off that. But who you really are when you're not with that stimulus, then if you spend enough time there, then you can realize that there's a real joy that requires none of this outside stimulus. A real joy, a real connection, a real love. And that will heighten all this when you do feel all this stuff. It will make all this stuff brighter and better and more wonderful. But you don't need it if you're connected to that joy inside. And that's the attachment, right? We get attached to people, places, and things. We get attached to our reality, right? And, it goes against quantum law, right? Because quantum law, if we react to our effects, that's what we're creating in the quantum field. That's the future we're creating, right? Quantum law says we can be the love, be the joy, be the happiness now, and create that future reality now from conjuring up those feelings. So I thought this was very interesting. We're going to talk more about this. This is a little bit deeper in the book, and we still have some things to build up to. But I think this is, the idea here, guys, is I think the relationship, not even to the who, so who you really are, and this gap you identified is true, right? It's the gap when you're not around the stimulus. This is when you find out that, oh, I need all of this to be happy or joyful or interested or excited. And then you've got to make that connection that you don't need it if you're connected to that quantum you, that divine you, that God consciousness, what Neville Goddard calls the Christ in you. And then you can deal with all those emotions of guilt and unworthiness and fear that you've carried with you, right? The biggest fear, right, is when if we're alone, if we're around all this stuff, we're not feeling the fear of death and the fear of losing people, right? But when you're alone, all of that comes back. And if you're feeling that, then you're not connected to who you truly are, that divine, that immortal you. We'll cover more of this, guys. I just wanted to introduce this today. Think about this. These are your attachments, right? These are your emotional addictions, right? And what would happen if all that fell away and it was just you? Who are you without all that? Without the veneer, right? Without all of that, without the facade of being who you are, this is what meditation can help with, right? To get in touch with that divine you. We'll talk more about this, guys. This is Tom Kieran with the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness in San Diego, California, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to hit the subscription button, the notification bell, and like and share the video. That's how we get our message out. Guys, with great love, this is Tom. Until next time, see you soon.